A lot has happened in the past 2 to 3 years when it comes to Google Ads for Shopify e-commerce brands. But that recently got me into thinking, is there really anything I wish I had known earlier when it comes to scaling my e-commerce brand with Google Ads? Maybe something that would have made my journey with Google Ads so far much easier and, of course, much more profitable. And the answer is yes. Now, in this video, I want to cover 5 different Google Ads lessons I wish I had known earlier with Shopify. Now, for those of you that are new to this channel or don't know me, I'm Shri Kanase, and I've been running my own e-commerce brand specifically with Google Ads since around 2019, but I started with dropshipping back in 2017. 2019 is really the time when I found a lot of success with Google Ads. But of course, that success came with a lot of hardships, with a lot of lost money, sleepless nights, so on and so forth. And that kind of brings me to the first thing wish someone had told me or I had realized before when it comes to Google Ads and e-commerce, and that is your foundation is much more important than your ad strategy. Now, what do I mean by this exactly? To illustrate, I have a Google Ads account open right here for one of my clients under my Google Ads agency, Your Marketing, which if you're currently doing $40,000 or more per month in revenue, you need just a little bit of extra help scaling your e-commerce brand to the next level. Go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can possibly work together and make that happen. But when I say your foundation is greater than the ad strategy, I don't mean the foundation which you're standing on right now or which you might be sitting on right now. Instead, I mean the foundation of your e-commerce brand. This includes your product feed, your Google Merchant Center promotions, your Google Merchant Center overall health, your SEO, everything that goes in the foundation of making Google Ads work is much more important than the actual ad strategy that you run here. I mean, if you see it right here, we only currently have 4 different campaigns going on, but with these 4 campaigns, we're running at a 4x ROAS. Now, that was back in January. If I change it to this month, the ROAS is a 4.63x just with 4 different campaigns alone. And if we now go on to another e-commerce brand, which we're also scaling very heavily under my Google Ads agency, now I want to show you the difference. Here, we have 12 different campaigns. We're running at a 2.75x ROAS. Now, this ROAS is still profitable for this e-commerce brand, and for the other brand, the 4.7x ROAS is very profitable. But the only difference is the overall foundational work. This brand, because it's such a huge brand, does not have enough time to focus on its foundation as much as that last e-commerce brand did. And as a result, this brand is much higher in terms of profitability. Now, if you look at the ad strategy, this only has 4 campaigns, which means this is a fairly simple setup compared to the other brand with 12 different campaigns. But this brand is still crushing it. And it goes back to the first lesson I wish I had known earlier, and that is, again, foundation is key. We're spending much more time here in terms of the foundation, in terms of the SEO, because number 1, it's a much smaller brand, but also number 2, it has lesser number of products compared to the other brand. And as a result, we're able to really get the foundation right, get the pillars of this foundation very strong. And as a result, it's able to maintain and stabilize in terms of the scalability very well on a long-term basis. So keep this in mind for your own e-commerce brand. The foundation is the key. If you're not really getting the desired results or you're not able to scale as much as you would like, most likely there is an issue with your foundation. Go back, fix up your foundation, and then worry about the ad strategy second. But this brings me to the second lesson I wish I had known earlier with Shopify and Google Ads, and that is capturing demand works much better than creating demand. And I'm gonna say it again. Capturing demand works much better than creating demand. Now, what do I mean by this exactly? When it comes to creating demand, you're essentially trying to go out in the market and reinvent the wheel and make it as you would like the wheel to be. Whereas with capturing the demand, you're going out into the market and looking at other people's invented wheels and trying to get an audience which likes those wheels in the first place. Facebook ads, TikTok ads, Pinterest, anything that requires you to go forcefully on somebody's feed is all about creating demand. Whereas with Google, it's a lot about capturing the demand. If you're selling a 3D printer and I'm in the market or on Google typing the words buy 3D printer or just 3D printer for sale, I'm already sold on the idea of getting a 3D printer. You're just capturing my attention and just capturing my demand to get that sale. So as a result, the strategy is much different from somebody trying to capture demand versus somebody trying to create it. And I was with even Google Ads for too long of a time just trying to forcefully create demand. I was doing this via search campaigns, via these different keywords, with shopping campaigns, even with display, discovery. I was just doing all things possible to get people to notice my brand and trying to create this demand that was not there to begin with. With Google, this is why it's so important for you to find the right products with good enough search volume, source these products the right way, and then look at your competitors to be the average of your top 5 competitors. Because if you go out and try to create demand, it's really gonna be a failing strategy with Google. Yeah, I know it was for me for the longest time ever in 2019, and as a result, it took me just way too long to scale to the level I'm at right now. So keep this in mind, that creating demand is your #1 goal with Google Ads rather than capturing it. You can use Facebook ads, TikTok ads, so on and so forth to create the demand and then come onto Google to capture all of that newly created demand. But Google Ads should always be part of your spectrum when you're trying to scale your brand to the next level. This brings me to the third lesson, which is the leading KPI, the key performing metric that determines your scale and ultimately your level of success with Google Ads. It's not ROAS, believe it or not. It's not return on ad spend. In fact, it is the average order value. I don't know why it took me so long to understand this, that ROAS was really not driving my sales forward. It was actually the average order value that was the deciding factor of what my ROAS would be, what my profitability would be, and as a result, what my scale would be. And for the longest time, all of my efforts were just focused on the ROAS. Now, don't get me wrong, ROAS is very important. A lot of your strategies that you implement should be directed to improve your ROAS. However, one of the biggest things you can do, which can benefit all of your metrics, not just ROAS, but your CTRs, your cost per purchase, so on and so forth, is the average order value. If you just have an average order value of $50, somebody who has an average order value of $100 in your niche is 2 times more likely, even 4 times more likely to spend more than you to get more sales. And as a result, they're gonna keep on getting more sales simply because they're feeding their algorithm with more data, and Google likes that. So at the end of the day, it comes down to how much you're spending to acquire that customer. But that does not mean you should be unprofitable and trying to get your sales unprofitably. The easiest way, again, to resolve that issue is to just focus on the average order value. Because now if you went from AOV of $50 to an AOV of $100, most likely you increase your profitability by a minimum of 20 to 25%. So that means you can now put 20 to 25% or more into ads to get those customers. Of course, as you start to overspend your competitors, you also start to overbid them, and you can only do that if you're profitable in the first place. So the KPI that should be the #1 thing that you focus on improving is the AOV, because honestly speaking, the ROAS, the cost per purchase, CTR, everything will follow and get better as your AOV increases. But this brings me to the 4th main lesson I wish I had known earlier, and that is smart bidding is much better than manual bidding. Now, in terms of smart bidding, not every ad account can start using it right from the get-go, because for any brand new account, you need to start with manual bidding. There's no kind of way outside of this. And to illustrate this, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go inside of one of the ad accounts, which we just recently launched under my Google Ads agency. We started working with them and they had no kind of results coming from Google Ads, but we had to launch brand new campaigns, and surprisingly, these campaigns are doing fairly well. So if we look at the overall ROAS right here, we can see the account is running at a 3.56x ROAS. The standard shopping campaign is running at an 8.18x ROAS. Now, is every campaign profitable? Not really, because this top search campaign is not doing so well. This YouTube campaign is also not doing so well. But despite that, the standard shopping campaign and this other branded search campaign, they're pulling the load and they're doing fairly well. All of these are currently on manual bidding. Now, right now, manual bidding is working for this ad account, but very soon, manual bidding will stop working. And that's because manual bidding has a lifespan of just how much ever time the algorithm thinks it's able to get results at that bid that you have set, because a lot of things change consistently. New competitors enter the market, old ones leave the market, new audience members enter, so on and so forth. And as a result, the bids is always changing. You just can't expect Google to work on the bid of 50 cents or 40 cents, whatever you gave it, forever. It's just not gonna happen. So at some point of time, we are gonna have to convert this ad account into smart bidding, but that should always be the ultimate goal. Get enough data as fast as possible, of course, while maintaining profitability, so that you can make this transition fairly quickly. But at the end of the day, smart bidding is much better than manual bidding. That's just because smart bidding relies on all this data that you're getting within the account. It relies on the algorithm itself to perform better for you. And as a result, the algorithm can be on your side, work with you to get those audience members. Because keep in mind, no matter how smart you think you are, and I think I'm pretty smart myself, by the way, even I use smart bidding, and that's because I'm not smarter than a robot. A robot is always gonna be more smarter in certain cases, like when it comes to determining the data for the bidding. So keep in mind, smart bidding should be your number one goal. But this brings me to the final kind of thing on the list, which is a lesson I wish I had known earlier, and that is proper segmentation of products and campaigns beats all fancy strategies out there. Now, we're working with a lot of different e-commerce brands right now. The number one driver of their success is proper segmentation. Even for the brand, this one that we went over in earlier portion of this video, that's running at a 2.44x ROAS, that's now running, if we change it to this month right now, at a 2.75x ROAS. It's all because of segmentation of the campaigns and the products, because this segmentation lets you scale those campaigns which are running at an 11x ROAS, at an 8x ROAS, at a 3x ROAS differently compared to those campaigns barely scraping by at a 1.4x ROAS or a 1.59x ROAS, so on and so forth. It's at the end of the day all about segmentation. So this is one thing I really wish I had known earlier, because a lot of my earlier time period with Google Ads went towards finding the perfect fancy strategy, the perfect fancy approach, which involved oftentimes wasting a lot of money unnecessarily. I mean, I used to launch a bunch of different campaigns just to appear fancy. I used to do all these bidding skimming strategies, have a certain bid based on a certain keyword, have a certain bid based on a certain product price, so on and so forth. And at some point of time, it just kind of went through Google's head and it just started to destroy my results in a very negative way. And I realized at that time, the simple campaigns were the ones working the best, and that's still to this date what works the best. You want to keep things simple, but make sure they're properly segmented and segregated based on what they should be segregated on. So I do recommend segregation based on winning products versus losing products. I recommend segmentation based on product KPIs, based on product collections, so on and so forth. The list goes on and on. It's a matter of just what works the best for your e-commerce brand. But again, if you're doing $40,000 or more per month in revenue, you need just a little bit of extra help scaling your e-commerce brand to the next level with Google Ads. Go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can possibly work together and make that happen. But I want you to watch this video right here on my new Google Shopping ad strategy for 2023 and onwards. I guarantee you it's one of the best Google Shopping ad strategies out there. And if you're not following it, then you're leaving a lot of money on the table.